This week, we mourn the deaths of Jeff Gladney, a 26-year-old cornerback, and Marion Barber, a 38-year-old running back. Gladney was involved in a fatal car accident, but Barber's cause of death is unknown. Our thoughts and prayers go out to their family.
And they're going to snap it, and it's Trey Burton who throws, caught, Foles, touchdown.
And here he goes. It's Hester inside the 30. Hester's going to take it all the way for a touchdown. Picked off. Look out. Get past Manning. And it's Tracy Porter taking it all the way. Touchdown, New Orleans.
You're listening to the Pigskin Project, the world's #1 football podcast. Now, with more insights on all things football, here are your hosts, Ben Hansen and Ryan Matthews.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have a special guest, special to me, special to Northwest Indiana, special to the Pigskin Project. He is the one and only Vince Gray. You've heard him in the intro to, the show and everything that just went on by. Excited to have him on the show. Let's add him to the stream. Vince, how are you doing?
Gentlemen, thanks for having me. I appreciate it. It's good to be here.
So for those that don't know, Vince is my broadcast partner for the 2022 high school football season for Indiana. Very excited to get to work with you. But first off, we have some questions to get into. Ben, do you want to go ahead and ask yours?
Yeah, Vince, again, like as Ryan was saying, you guys have been broadcast partners. I'm just wondering how long you've been doing that for and how you really just started getting into this.
Well, I actually have been a broadcaster since I was in college, since I was your guys' age. So I started my broadcast career back in 1985. I worked at a little radio station in Central Arkansas called KUCA Radio. I worked in that station. I was their morning drive guy. I worked from 5 to 8 in the morning, Monday through Friday. Did that for 6 months and then moved up to Champaign-Urbana. And for a couple of years, I worked at WICD TV in Champaign doing voiceover work. And I also was one of their commercial salesmen for a while. And then I got out of it for a few years, but I went back for a broadcasting degree at Parkland College in Champaign-Urbana. And then I was out of it for a while. I was a retail shoe salesman, did retail for a long time, got married. And about 13 years ago, I went to visit a friend of mine who was doing a broadcast for Regional Radio Sports, helped the guys wrap up the equipment. And one of the broadcasters, Mike Knezovich, who's one of our lead guys at Regional Radio Sports, said, "Have you done this stuff before?" I said, "Yeah." And he, in passing, said to me, "If you have the opportunity and I need you, can I give you a call?" Thinking that he was being polite, I said, "Absolutely." 2 weeks later, I got a phone call from a strange phone number. I picked it up, and it was Mike Knezovich saying, "My broadcast partner for soccer just backed out. Would you be interested in doing a broadcast? I need you in 30 minutes." And that was, to say the least, a little bit of a shock. I said, "Sure, where you at?" He said, "I'm in Highland. Come on over." I ran over there, did a game, and pretty soon it became kind of a regular gig. A couple of years after that, I was working with Ken Anderson, who I also coached with at Griffith High School. He was doing his thing. And then Kenny kind of got out of it, and I kind of got into it and became a soccer play-by-play guy. I was lucky enough to get a football gig a couple of years ago as a color analyst, and last year they gave me the chance to run the main chair for the Northwest Indiana Game of the Week. And I did play-by-play for the whole season, and I did all the state championship games in Indianapolis as a studio host and did a couple of games with Mike Flashman, who's also one of our broadcast partners. But I got lucky. Believe me when I tell you, this was just by chance. I got into this. I had done public address for a few years for a few teams, but that's how I got into it. I got lucky. I did it in college, stayed away from it for about 25 years. And then as I'm getting older, I need something to do when I get ready to retire. And so this is probably what it's going to be.
Nice.
All right. So Vince, what kind of impact do you think broadcasting has on you then?
Well, I can tell you that for me, broadcasting is my passion. I obviously, for those that don't know, I don't do this as a full-time gig. I wish I could. But there are a lot of people out there and there's a lot of competition. I'm lucky to even have the opportunity to do this. For me, my regular job allows me the opportunity to do this. They know that's one of my passions. I'm a HR trainer, and I'm also a kitchen manager for a company in Northwest Indiana. So I do dual roles there. And I'm also an assistant basketball coach at Griffith High School for Ken Anderson. I've been doing coaching for over 28 years. So sports has always been my passion. My impact and what it has on me, it is my love language. I love it. I love sports. I like talking about sports. I like talking, period. I normally can't say hello in less than 1,000 words. And so for me, it's a lot of fun. It's a great opportunity to get to work with young people like yourselves, and also a chance for me to get a chance to see the teams in Northwest Indiana. I've been very lucky. I've done 16 state championship games in the last 2 years. I had a chance to follow the Couts Mustangs all the way to Indianapolis. I had a chance to do the Crown Point Girls State Championship game where they won last year, Mishawaka Marion State Final and Chesterton State Final. I got to do play-by-play for both of those, and it's a thrill, believe me, to be courtside at Gamebridge Fieldhouse doing a state championship game. There's nothing like it.
So what would be your favorite memory from broadcasting with regional radio sports?
I think probably the first state championship game I did way back in the day. And Ken Anderson is not just my best friend, he's my brother. And he got a chance. We did Hamilton Southeastern versus Carmel in the girls or the boys state championship game. For whatever reason, we got sponsorship. So we went to Indianapolis in the old Kuntz Stadium, which is over by the old baseball stadium on the Speedway side of town. We did the state championship game, and I was talking about the different uniforms that people wear and how they all wear uniforms, but they have different color shoes. And I said something about shoes, and Coach Anderson made a joke about either what I was wearing, or he made a joke that just threw me off a little bit. And I started laughing, and I couldn't stop. I was reading my reads. I couldn't stop laughing. I go to break, and I was giggling through the whole thing. And we went to break. I turned around and I started hitting him. I said, "What are you doing? Leave me alone. I'm trying to work here." He says, "Nobody's listening anyway. Don't worry about it. It's Hamilton Southeastern versus Carmel. Nobody in Northwest Indiana is listening anyway. I don't think their parents are listening." It was pretty funny. That was good. And I think the first play-by-play call I got to do for football last fall was good. I had a health scare at the beginning of the season, so I didn't get to do game one. I was in Porter Memorial Hospital for a couple of days, and I missed my first broadcast. So when I got a chance to do play-by-play for the first time last year, it was a thrill.
So, Vince, I got to say, for everybody that knows me, for everybody that has me on Facebook and, Instagram, they already know, Ryan's going to be working with Vince this year. And, Mike also, Mike Knezovich, the guy that you were talking about earlier, gave me the opportunity to not only work with you this football season, but work with you, this upcoming Saturday as well. Something that I'm really looking forward to, mainly just because you're one of my favorite people to work with. But obviously you and I go back almost a year. But how would you describe your first impression of me when we met in Indianapolis?
Well, to set the scene, as we always like to do, as you and I like to do, we were doing the state championship football, and we did all 6 games. So as you know, we go down to Indianapolis, we stay in a hotel, and you're in the press box at Lucas Oil Stadium. And you're not on the field. At the beginning you are, but during the games you're up high. I mean, you're 10 stories in the air. You can barely see. And we've got a bunch of young guys that we work with. Tanner Camp is one of the guys we work with. He's one of my broadcast partners. I work with a lot of guys from the Globe and Goshen college stations. But you came in organized, which I was impressed by. You wanted to do well. You asked the right questions. A lot of times people come in and they're a little timid, and you could tell that you wanted to be good at this. And working with the guys at Regional Radio Sports, they've been there a long time. I mean, Paul Condry's been doing this for years. He has a certain standard that he expects. Immediately, absolutely. I could tell you that you impressed him with what you had to offer. And then you asked the right questions at the right times, and were able to get in and do some broadcasting, which, believe me, if I could give any advice, it's do it early and be passionate about it. And don't listen to people that say you're not going to make money doing this, because guess what? you're not going to make money doing it. Maybe not. There's only about a handful of guys that are making the six-figure salaries. The rest of us are just trying to have fun and describe action and go out and watch sports. The hook for me is I get free food sometimes. So, but yeah,
Yep.
no, it was great. The work that you did was fun, and I look forward to this season. I was looking at the schedule, and it's Kankakee Valley centric, which is excellent because I live in the Wheatfield DeMott area. So for me, 5 of the 6 games for KV are home games. So I'll be 10 minutes from the house as opposed to an hour, which is always good stuff.
Oh yeah, which leads me into my next question. But first, before I get there, you were talking about the schedule and everything.
Sure.
To those that aren't necessarily familiar with it, something really cool. Not only do I get the opportunity to be able to work with Vince and broadcast together, but I also get the opportunity to broadcast for 2 of my old schools. One of them I went to from kindergarten through 7th grade. That's Rensselaer Central. They're playing them week 1. And then Ben and I, our high school, is playing Kankakee Valley week 2. It's going to be Wheeler versus KV. So it's going to be super exciting to be able to coach or to be able to broadcast those ones. I'm really excited for it. But what kind of expectations do you have for the upcoming high school season, on the broadcasting side of things?
Well, I mean, the good news is at Regional Radio Sports, especially our network, we have 4 main properties that we do. We do Lowell football with Todd Kibbe and Tony McHale. They do Lowell football they have for 20 years. We have the Duneland Conference Game of the Week with Paul Condrey and his crew. Frank Kelpakowski is part of that crew. We do Penn football out in we like to call it the Eastern Conference with Mike Flashman. He's on with Chris Giesman. He does Penn football. And then you and I'll have the Northwest Indiana Game of the Week. In addition to our Kankakee Valley schedule, week 3, we have Michigan City at Chesterton, which is always fun to play, to see Chesterton play. Week 4 will be on the 9th of September. We get to go to Culver Academies to see the Hobart Brickies travel to Culver, which is always exciting. It's a military
2 days
school.
before my birthday, too.
And well, happy birthday to you. Early. Then we have Kankakee Valley taking on Munster. The good news there, the 4th or the 23rd of September, which is my sister's birthday, we go back to the Field of Troy for Portage and Chesterton. Then the Hobart Brickies travel to KV. And then when we get into October, the 7th of October is a big game in my house. My wife's an Andrean grad. Andrean, the defending state champions, they're going to be really good this year. They're coming to KV. And then we're going to do a road game. We're going to have KV on the road at Highland, and then we have the sectional opener. The big news for us is at Regional Radio Sports, with 4 different football properties, we also have the Indiana Football Digest, which is a big deal for us. This is the 30th season of the IFD. So Paul Condrey's been publishing this magazine, which we would consider, and I think most would agree, is the #1 football publication for high school sports, not only in the region in Indiana, but really in the country. We cover all 400 teams in the state of Indiana. We cover every team that's in college. We also cover the Colts. Paul has an extensive group of connections. People respect what he thinks. I was at the offices last week, and they were finishing the editing of that. It went up a couple bucks this year, $17, but you can go to IndianaFootballDigest.com or Gritties.com to get information on the IFD. But really, I'm looking forward to KV's schedule for one reason and one reason only. The head coach of KV's team is going to be the former head coach at Lowell. And right now, again, brain cramp. I'm losing my Kirk Kennedy. There we go. Kirk Kennedy is going to be the new head coach at Kankakee Valley. And, Kirk Kennedy led the Lowell Red Devils to the state championship back in 2005. So he's got a strong pedigree, and he's back in the region. Kankakee Valley traditionally has a lot of kids. They're one of the smallest schools now in 4A, but they're going to have a new coach and a new direction, and hopefully we're going to get a chance to talk to him a lot. I think KV is going to be better than most people think.
Yeah, absolutely. And, so everybody listening can go on regionalradiosportsnetwork.com or RRSN.com, and then IHSAATV.org to be able to watch our games this upcoming season. Really looking forward to it. But without further ado, this podcast, like we said before, this covers football, all football, any football.
Yep.
Yes.
But we're going to focus on pro football. And running back Frank Gore is retiring after signing a one-day contract with San Francisco. So that opens up our next kind of argument, I guess, that people are having, at least lately. Ben, do you think that Frank Gore is a Hall of Famer?
See, it's a really interesting question because I know for the time I started watching football, obviously Frank Gore was never a top 5 running back. And then even earlier on in his career, he was never the top guy in the league. So it's kind of hard to say this guy deserves to be in the Hall of Fame because he was never considered one of the greats of his time. But then you start looking at the stats he put up, and just because he played for, I think it was 16 years, he's finishing 3rd all time in rushing yards. And it's kind of hard to say that the guy that's finishing 3rd all time in rushing yards above guys like Barry Sanders, Adrian Peterson, LaDainian Tomlinson, it's hard to say he doesn't deserve a spot in the Hall of Fame. And again, people will argue that he doesn't just because he was never considered that guy whenever he was playing. But I mean, with his longevity and finishing with 16,000 yards, it's hard to keep him out of the Hall of Fame.
So, I mean, I guess my thing is, was he ever regarded as the best player in the NFL? Was Frank Gore ever that top guy?
No.
I mean,
no.
I'll get to my points, but Vince, what do you think? I mean,
well,
even the typical NFL fan knows who he is, but what do you think?
Well, I mean, 16,000 yards exactly, by the way. 16,000 on the head. I would retire right with that number. That's a cool number to have. 81 touchdowns. Now, I think a guy like LaDainian Tomlinson, who had 20 touchdowns in a season, who was the go-to guy, who was clearly the best running back in the league, even players like that you had in the backfield. I mean, he's not a Walter Payton. He's definitely not in that class. He's not an Emmitt Smith. He's not in that class. He's not a Tony Dorsett back in my day. He's definitely not in that. He's not really even an Edgerrin James. And Edgerrin James is a Hall of Famer as well. But you got to say someone who's been a running back for 16 years, that is a good argument. Do you give him the Hall of Fame, or is he in the Hall of Very Good? I think at this point, he's most likely going to go in the Hall of Fame. Maybe not early, but he'll get his opportunity. I mean, I think Jimbo Covert was one of the best linemen of all time on the 85 Bears, and he didn't get in the Hall of Fame until just this time around. So, Frank Gore will get in eventually. I don't think they can keep him out, but is he a surefire Hall of Fame? I think the argument is no, he's not.
So, I mean, we have to play devil's advocate just because people are arguing this for whatever reason. Was he the best player at his position? No. Was he the best player on his team? Once, maybe, in 2006?
I'd say more than once. I think he was the best player more than once. I think his position, though, the game has evolved where at one point the running back was the feature. I mean, Marion Barber dying 10 years ago would have been a bigger deal because the running back was more featured. I mean, it was terrible what happened. And like you said, condolences to his family. But now the game is more aerial. It's more focused on the wide receiver position. They're letting the wide receivers get away with just about anything to get open. And Frank Gore was the bell cow. He was the guy you went to. And if you would have said 10 years ago he had these statistics, you'd be having a different argument, I think.
I just want to point out, I do, without a doubt, think that he's going to be in the Hall of Fame. But when it comes to, some counter arguments, when we talk about was he the best on his team, from 2007 to 2014, it says the best player on the 49ers per approximate value was linebacker Patrick Willis, linebacker Navarro Bowman, or quarterback Colin Kaepernick. During Gore's 3 years with the Colts, the best player on the team was quarterback Andrew Luck, or cornerback Vontae Davis, or defensive tackle Jonathan Hankins. In all honesty, I think this article does a great job at excluding the rest of the offensive value when it comes around like Frank Gore. So it's just like, yeah, cool. Let's say that he's not the best player because a defensive player shines. Look at his offensive value. And then you look at, offensive lineman Jesse Davis was the best player on the squad on the Dolphins in 2018. 2019 and up, he was pretty much a non-existent running back.
Yeah.
And it sucks to say, but the thing is, people just have to recognize that this man finished third in overall yardage. And it's just like, dude, give the man his respect. He played for so many teams too. Whatever. But go ahead.
Yeah, and again, like Vince said, I mean, guys like Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, Justin Herbert, I mean, they really did change the game because, I mean, even 5 or 6 years ago, like he pointed out to, like guys like Frank Gore, to be able to lean on a bell cow back, it was so valuable to be able to pretty much for the first 10 years of his career to say, go out and get me 1,000 yards every season. I mean, that was so valuable back then. I really think he is in the Hall of Fame, and I'd be very shocked if he wasn't.
Well, and there's another statistic too, guys. Of the top 16 rushers who are Hall of Fame eligible, they're all in. The only 2 that aren't are Adrian Peterson, who's a Hall of Famer, and Frank Gore. So everybody else that's in the top 16 in the NFL rushing statistics are Hall of Famers. So if you take it that way, of all the people that have played NFL football, and he's in the top 16, I think it's pretty much a foregone conclusion that he's going to be in the Hall of Fame.
I just want to say that I think Frank Gore could be the best player to fly under the radar. Just because I feel like he not necessarily on the field, but off the field, out of the public eye. He doesn't really he's not the guy to do all the advertisements and stuff. He's the guy to just sit down and, put his nose to the grindstone, get the work done, and then leave. You know what I mean? We can also add 7-time Pro Bowler Alex Mack is retiring. The offensive lineman has done many good things in his time, and applaud him to a great career as well. Speaking of great careers, quarterback Ryan Fitzpatrick, after playing for the Rams, Bengals, Bills, Titans, Texans, Jets, Buccaneers, Dolphins, and Commanders, he is retiring after 16 years. The beard's going away, guys.
Well, think about this: 16 years, and did he go to Harvard? I think he went to Harvard, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So this guy played in the Ivy League. He obviously is a cerebral type of player, but also one of those guys that you want on your roster to mentor the younger quarterbacks. Think of the guys that he's basically coached up himself. He's come in and been a stopgap, and he's tried to do his darndest to get the job. But instead, he mentored a lot of great quarterbacks. But, yeah, Ryan Fitzpatrick would be a guy that I wouldn't mind seeing on the Bears. And even though he doesn't have the same skill set as Justin Fields, he could teach Justin Fields how to be a professional, because I don't think that Nick Foles brought that to the table at all. No offense to Nick Foles. And the people they brought in, they need somebody like that for Justin Fields, just to show him how he should be in the quarterback room. So I think that was one of the things that Ryan Fitzpatrick brought. And I'd be interested to see what he does after this. I wonder if he's going to have to trim his beard when he goes into broadcasting. We'll have to see what he does.
I was going to say, Vince, I think he's going in the same one as us.
That's right. Yeah. Have him come and work for Regional Radio Sports. We've got a place for him. So
Steelers defensive lineman Stephon Tuitt has announced he is retiring after 7 seasons. Another great to, go ahead.
Yep.
Okay, so Derek Carr's brother has been saying, and this is not, would you say that this is a reliable source? Maybe, but
is it David Carr or his other brother?
It just said Derek Carr's brother. It could be, I don't know, but he's been saying that Devontae Adams has been trying to get traded to the Raiders for the past few years. I don't know how reliable that news is, but it brought the question to mind. What are your? I'll start with Ben. What are your expectations for Derek Carr and Devontae Adams for 2022?
I mean, again, obviously, I don't expect him to put up the same numbers that he did with Aaron Rodgers throwing to him, because, heck, it's Aaron Rodgers. But, again, he should still be top 5 in wide receiving yards, top 5 probably in catches, top 5 in targets and all that, because, really, they don't have another star. They don't have another star wide receiver on that team. And I think now finally seeing Derek Carr with a star wide receiver, it'll be interesting to see how that affects his numbers, because he's always been kind of stuck outside looking in on that win because of group that we've been talking about.
Yeah.
So I think we could really see people's eyes open a little bit more to Derek Carr than we have the past 6 seasons.
Vince?
Well, think about it this way, too. Derek Carr now has a bona fide target to go to. I mean, Weller, the tight end, okay, that's great. That they can target. Now they've got 2 options out there. And the thing that's going to happen, I think Carr's numbers are going to get better. But I also think Adams has something to prove. He needs to prove that the reason that Aaron Rodgers was so good was not because of Aaron Rodgers, was because of who he was throwing to. So now Devontae Adams can own Las Vegas. I mean, Las Vegas in itself is just it's a paradise for a player, because what a great facility, what a great city. I mean, Raider fans are out of their mind for those teams, and now that they're in Vegas, it's even better. But I think Adams goes in there, and if he and Carr get on the same page, I think it could be a lot of fun to watch. It could be a lot of fun to see what the Raiders can do. But I think Adams is going to have a huge chip on his shoulder, because he's going to have to prove that it wasn't Rodgers, it was the other way around.
See, Vince, you bring up a good point. Adams ranked number 4 in yards after catch. So, he's 4th overall in that. Could he do something better elsewhere? And I'm just going to be the Bears fan here and just say it. I don't care how he does, because he's not in Green Bay. And, with all due respect to him, I think he'll do okay. I'm excited to see what the 2 college buddies can get done over there. But, I think that, at some point we'll see a slight decline from Devontae Adams is what I'll say. It's going to be very underwhelming, and I'm just going to say that.
And honestly, to your point, Ryan, though, I think and to Vince's point as well, I think the better question to ask is, how is this going to affect the opposite side? How is that going to affect Aaron Rodgers? I mean, it'll be tough now. It'll be really interesting, and now we'll be able to see is Aaron Rodgers this big baller? I mean, obviously he is, but we'll see. It'll be interesting.
And like Ryan said, as a Bears fan, it really breaks my heart to think that Aaron Rodgers might have trouble. I mean, gosh, if the Packers have a hard time this season, it's just going to be terrible news for us Bears fans, because we've got an up-and-coming quarterback, and if Rodgers has trouble and the Bears can give them a hard time, I feel terrible for the guy, but I guess we'll have to help him get through it.
So speaking of heartbreak from Chicago fans, D lineman and one of my all-time favorite Bears, Akeem Hicks, has signed a 1-year, $10 million contract with the Buccaneers. He is no longer a Bear. He was the physical embodiment of what the ideal Chicago Bear, the monster of the Midway, should be. I just want a moment to just kind of say, like, man, I really do appreciate this guy, what he's done for Chicago. I know that, he kind of had some falling out towards the end and everything, so it's really unfortunate how things had to end. But, man, was this guy so much fun to watch. And I get it. They didn't want him. He's had some injury history. It just wasn't meant to be in 2022. It's okay. He'll go and get his ring, maybe. But at the end of the day, happy for him. He made his money, and he got to a winning, like a very successful defensive line. But he's making that very successful defensive line even better now. So I'm excited to see what he can do. I'll definitely be rooting for him, and I'll definitely buy that Akeem Hicks jersey when it gets on clearance here soon. So, but yeah, I don't know how you guys felt about that one. Vince, being a Bears fan as well, I see the poster in the background. When you heard the news, what'd you think?
Well, I mean, think about who the Bears hired. They hired a defensive coach. So Hicks was going to be part of the new regime, and I'm sure they were counting on him to anchor that defense. But you got to go for the bag when you can. That's what we always hear them say in the morning. You got to go for the bag. You got to get the money while it's out there. Hicks is not getting any younger. So $10 million, if somebody wants to put, $10 million in front of a player, they're going to go for it. It's up to the Bears to keep these guys in house. It's up for the Bears to make the right financial decisions. In this case, they decided that Hicks was expendable, and they let him move on. Now, hopefully, it's not going to come back to bite them, but defensively it probably will. They're going to need a strong defense because Justin Fields is still growing as a quarterback. That offense is still going to be a work in progress. Eberflus is he's a defensive coach first. So, and that's where the Bears have always hung their hat. So, yeah, as a Bears fan, it hurts to see Hicks leave. But again, like you said, you can't fault the guy for going for the money. Go get the money.
And I will say this. I mean, we've talked about it before. If Hicks were to return to Chicago, I would have wanted it to be on something like a $15 million deal if it's based off of incentives. So if he can stay healthy, then we'll give him the incentives to make up to 15. That's a lot. But the thing is if he's healthy, he's a huge impact on that defensive line. He can stop the run. That's personally what I think. Maybe 15 is a little much, but Ben, this is an unbiased source here to my left on screen. Ben, why don't you tell me what you think?
I think him making 10, like we've talked about before, him making $10 million is what sealed the deal. And him waiting this long in the market, I was very surprised that he made that $10 million. But I mean, again, if you're gonna give someone $10 million, I mean, I would take it too. I don't blame him.
Right.
And now he's finally in a spot where he can hopefully go and get a ring again. Did he win the ring with the Saints the first time around?
I don't think so. I don't know.
No, so now he's in position to now, maybe I'm sure that played a big part into his thinking as well. Now, not only is he making the $10 million, he's also gets a good chance of, or at least getting a ring push. I mean, I'm not ready to say that they'll win it, but better position to win a ring this year than he would have been with the Bears.
Yeah, for sure. I heard to say, but whatever. So next up, the Browns are signing tight end David Njoku to a 4-year, $56.75 million deal. Ben, you're making a weird face at me, buddy.
I saw this deal and I was shocked. I mean, he's now finishing 5th in tight end contracts, only behind George Kittle, Travis Kelce, Dallas Goedert, and Mark Andrews. And he finished 22nd in yards this season. And it's not like he was hurt. He played in 16 out of the 17 games that they had this past season.
But they have Deshaun Watson.
And that's the key to the whole thing right there. They have Deshaun
yes.
Watson. So are they banking on Deshaun Watson making him better? Or, and here's the problem, when is Deshaun Watson going to play?
Yeah.
I mean, is there going to be something that's going to blindside the Browns? I mean, they've made a pretty big move here. They gave Deshaun Watson basically the entire city of Cleveland's money. He's going to be making a lot of bank, and there's going to be a lot of expectations. So they need people like the tight end in the fold. They need him. But $56 million, I think, is a little bit of a hefty price tag. I think the Browns, to coin a phrase, have lost their ever-loving minds. They signed Watson. They've done this deal. What's next? Are they going to, have their Baker Mayfield give him $40 million to be a backup or something? I mean, right now at this point, it doesn't make a lot of sense.
Right.
No.
Ben?
No, again, he touched it. I mean, again, the only saving grace here is you hope that, obviously David Njoku was drafted really high. I mean, he was drafted really high for that reason. He has that, at least we thought he had that talent to hopefully be in the top 5 producers. And obviously the hope is Deshaun Watson gets him there. But again, I think it's to pay a dude who finished 22nd in tight end yards. That's just tight ends. Yeah. That much money is just it's too rich for my liking.
Right. So lastly, John Madden will officially grace the cover of Madden 23, which leads us into our next thing, our Madden quarterback ratings. And honestly, I got a lot of problems with a lot of these things. Vince, how familiar are you with Madden?
Well, I'm a little bit older than you guys, just by a couple of years. I'm familiar with Madden before he was on the cover of Madden, and but Madden's become bigger than life. It's taken on a life of its own, and if you've seen the documentary All Madden, it's excellent. I recommend it. It's an ESPN documentary look at John Madden. It's amazing. But I remember when he was the coach of the Raiders and they won the Super Bowl back in the 70s. And I can tell you, number one, he deserves to be on the cover. God rest his soul. Passed away recently. Have I played Madden? Yes. Am I any good? No, not even close. And let me tell you, with 4 jobs in broadcasting, there's not a lot of time to play a lot of Madden. I just don't have the time. That was my excuse when I got killed. I don't have the time. But the ratings, the players take the ratings seriously. The players get ticked off when they see their Madden rating. They talk about it amongst themselves. And that should tell you what the franchise means. But some of these ratings are crazy.
So let's get right to it. I'll go ahead and share the let's see, here it is. So without further ado, we have the ratings. I'll go ahead and read them out loud for those that haven't seen them already. They have Patrick Mahomes at a 99, Aaron Rodgers at a 98, Tom Brady at a 98, Josh Allen at 95, Lamar Jackson at 92, Justin Herbert at 90, Russell Wilson at 90, Dak Prescott at 89, Joe Burrow at 89, Matthew Stafford at 87, Kyler Murray at 86, Deshaun Watson at 86, Derek Carr at 85, Ryan Tannehill at 84, Jalen Hurts at 82, Matt Ryan at 81, Kirk Cousins at 80, Mac Jones at 79, Baker Mayfield at 78, Jameis Winston at 76, Jimmy Garoppolo at 75, Trevor Lawrence at 75, Kenny Pickett at 74, Tua Tagovailoa, yeah, at 73, Justin Fields at 73, Jared Goff at 72, Zach Wilson at 72, Trey Lance at 72, Malik Willis at 71, Daniel Jones at 70, Carson Wentz at 70, and Sam Darnold at 70. I hope these are fake. Just putting it plain.
These are leaked, by the way, for those who these aren't like the official Madden rankings. These are leaked stuff. And before we get into your questions, Ryan, the one interesting thing I noticed on this list is obviously they have I mean, Ryan Tannehill and Malik Willis both show up on here. But where does Deshaun Watson get? And that's where it's going to be tough.
Yeah, he's at number 12 right underneath Kyler.
Oh, is he? See,
Yeah,
I think
86.
that's bad, but also we haven't seen him play in 2 years. So I
think
like
that's
you
an
said,
appropriate
I don't have a
spot.
lot of problems with that list or with this list. I think him being at 12 bugs me a little bit, but
Vince, did you see anything that just jots out at you?
Well, I mean, if you talk about Baker Mayfield, if you think about it, Baker Mayfield is on the trading block. They're trying to get rid of him. And he's ahead of Fields. He's ahead of Goff. He's ahead of Zach Wilson. He's ahead of Trey Lance, who's the future of the 49ers. And supposedly the rumor is that Mayfield goes out to Seattle and possibly becomes their quarterback. And he's handling the ball off if that happens. So his rating could drop even. I mean, but he's in the middle of the pack, which is where he's been. I think Dak Prescott's a little low. I think Prescott should probably be maybe 91, maybe in that same range with Herbert and Wilson. Mahomes is no doubt. 99 is true. Rodgers is 98. But the one that really stands out to me is a 44-year-old guy with a 98. That's Tom Brady. Tom Brady's been playing since the 90s. I mean, Tom Brady's as old as dirt, and they've rated him as a 98. I mean, the guy can play till he's 50 and still be effective, in my opinion. So, yeah, these ratings make sense. They do. How far has Carson Wentz fallen? To be 31st. I mean, oh my goodness.
Yeah,
pretty crazy.
It's insane. I have numerous things that I find wrong with this. Joe Burrow, to start things off with, at an 89 after leading the Bengals to the Super Bowl. But Lamar Jackson, who's been hurt all year, is a 92. Why?
I love. Okay, Ryan. Here, this is Lamar Jackson right now. If I'm starting, that's just no. Right now, Lamar Jackson is a better quarterback, and I love Joe Burrow. Obviously, I mean it's hard to not. But I think the storyline of him taking the lonely Bengals to the playoffs and into the Super Bowl and all that has like really I think he's a good quarterback and I think he's the future of the NFL. But he's I not right now, not going into this season. I think that storyline of him taking them to the playoffs has really helped people's impression of him. And I think he's going to get there, but I don't think he's I don't think he's quite there yet.
But do you think that I feel like
maybe by the end of the season, I could see him being in front of Lamar Jackson. Yeah. But going into the season, I like Lamar Jackson being ahead of him.
Personally, the way that I feel about it is that with Lamar Jackson being hurt majority of the season, I'm not sure. I mean, obviously a 92, it's not the best. It still leaves some room for improvement. I think I could probably switch these two overalls and be totally okay with it. With 89 and 92. But 90 to 91 for Joe Burrow, honestly, for me. That's the minimum. I think in 89, and I know that this is just, one number apart, but I think that that's just ridiculous. Another thing that's ridiculous is having Ryan Tannehill over Jalen Hurts, Kirk Cousins, and Mac Jones. I think that's ridiculous. With 80, okay, you're giving Ryan Tannehill an 84. I know that Jalen Hurts has some stuff to figure out, but an 82 is really low. The way that I look at an 82 is, wow, that's pretty close to 70s. You know what I mean? But like Ryan Tannehill, why wouldn't you put him at like a 79? Mac Jones just had a great year. Who was a wide receiver that played for New England? Kirk Cousins, I mean, he had a great year, flew under the radar, even though the Vikings didn't really do very much. The man had a good year. He's bringing the best out of Justin Jefferson. I mean, there's got to be one point in which you give Kirk Cousins his props. I'm a Bears fan, and I know the guy's better than an 80 overall. Then you have Mac Jones that's like, okay, cool, yeah, he's better. He should be rated better than Justin Fields, but I think that he should be rated better than Ryan Tannehill. Vince?
I kind of look at it this way. I think if you're one of the elite quarterbacks, you should have a 90. So I think if you're in the 90 range, that's the elite status. I think Prescott should be up in a 90 range. I think Burrow should, and this is just based on what happened last year. What happened with Burrow? He came back from an injury and actually had a great season. He led his team to the Super Bowl. I think Lamar Jackson is a lot of that 92 is flash. I mean, because he brings it on the ground, he brings it in the air. And that's the difference. I mean, same thing with Allen. Allen is an underrated runner, and I think a 95. I mean, I looked at their schedule. They're going to have a hard time winning 11 games again this year.
And we'll get there as well.
That 95, man, I'm telling you, that's heady stuff. I mean, if you're top 5 in the league and Lamar Jackson's been an MVP, Brady, obviously, Mahomes and Rodgers, they've all won stuff. So the lower numbers, I think you're kind of splitting hairs when you get into the 70 range. I think Tannehill deserves it. Tannehill did a great job when he came over to Tennessee. And it also helps to have Henry in the backfield to hand the ball off to. That probably makes you a better quarterback because a play-action pass means something. Because if you hand off the ball, you're getting for a world of hurt. So, yeah, these rankings, they make a lot of sense. I think it's going to be interesting to see where Trey Lance falls because supposedly he's the starter in San Francisco. And if he gets the starting job, well, then I think you can flip him and Garoppolo and maybe put Lance, depending on what he does. They said he hasn't looked good in practice very much. He's had some trouble with some reads, and maybe that'll translate to this. But I could see him in the 79-80 range by the end of the season.
The way that I look at Ryan Tannehill is just comparing what he did in the playoffs to what Joe Burrow did in the playoffs and recognizing that they're only 5 overall different. They have a difference of 5 is just ridiculous in my mind. I mean, that's the only word that comes to mind right now. I understand 5's a pretty big difference, but like you're also talking Justin Fields and Baker Mayfield having, a difference of 5 as well. So it's like I don't understand, Ben.
Well, as for these rookie or I guess now sophomore quarterbacks, I think, I mean, not to poop on Justin Fields here, but like we said in the last episode, I mean, like, I think he has the potential to be the guy in Chicago, but he isn't yet. I mean, he showed flashes, and obviously we all have hope that he can be, but he isn't yet. And obviously you can't rank Madden scores off of potential. I mean, if Madden scores was off potential, Malik Willis would be like 5. So I like where
Vince made a point. I think I am splitting hairs to a certain extent, but I would say that Fields is either on the same level as Garoppolo or should be 1 overall better than Garoppolo. And the fact that they have Kenny Pickett is a 74 overall without even stepping foot in the league, having a weak quarterback class being the narrative of the league, and you're going to put him over Trey Lance, over Zach Wilson, over Justin Fields. Ridiculous, man.
The Kenny Pickett one is bad, but the Jimmy Garoppolo thing, I just disagree with you on that one. I mean, Jimmy Garoppolo has he's a proven NFL quarterback. I mean, he's been in the big moments. I mean, shoot, look what he's done with the 49ers. I mean, yes, were they good rosters, but I mean, no, he not right now. Can I say Justin Fields should be ranked above Jimmy Garoppolo? Not going into the season right now. And again, by the end of the season, this list is going to look drastically different. Kenny Pickett at 23, like you said, is bad. But Justin Fields at 73, a guy like Zach Wilson and Trey Lance at 27 or at 27, 28, ranked 72 overall, I think are all good. Because again, these are all guys that they have all the potential in the world to eventually get there, but they haven't proven themselves. Like we said in the last podcast, Justin Fields threw more touchdowns or more interceptions this past year than he did interceptions. Or he threw more interceptions than he did touchdowns this past season. No, I think 25 as of right now is a good spot for him. I think, again, we'll see a lot of movement on this list. But again, I don't have lots of problems with this list.
I think putting Trevor Lawrence on the same level as Jimmy Garoppolo is ridiculous. I think that's terrible.
Yeah. But where are you going to put Trevor Lawrence at?
You put him around there with Justin Fields. Absolutely. Dude, there's no reason.
You even said yourself the last 5 games of the season that Trevor Lawrence played, he really showed that we saw eventually why he would have been there. So no, I think he deserves to be right there.
What else?
But that's what I'm saying. Like he showed more this season than Justin Fields did. He showed more this season than Zach Wilson did, and obviously he showed more than Trey Lance because he didn't play. He showed more, so he should be ranked above those guys.
But okay, here's the thing though. I mean, Justin Fields had several good games just like Trevor Lawrence. Why couldn't they be on the same level?
Because at the end of the day, are you more comfortable going into the season with Trevor Lawrence or Justin Fields?
They're both.
You say, don't you dare say Justin
Fields, dude. Justin freaking Fields.
Okay. Do you want to let's move on here, Ryan?
No, I'm not ready yet. Listen. What about Trevor Lawrence are you so infatuated with, bro? Like
literally everything. Besides the running ability, Justin Fields besides Trevor Lawrence is better than Justin Fields in every aspect of the passing game. Every aspect of the passing game.
Played like garbage.
It is not close. On a garbage team, could you name an offensive lineman of his?
It's fine. You couldn't name one. You couldn't name one for Fields if you weren't an Eagles fan. Well, okay, I stand corrected because you're good at college stuff. Whatever. The casual NFL fan does not know a single lineman for the Bears other than Jason Peters, who got injured and he played like a fat lard the whole season. The man was trash. Okay. The fact of the matter is they should be on the same level, and if not, maybe put Trevor Lawrence 1 overall above Fields. But you're not putting him on the same level as Jimmy Garoppolo.
It's 2 overall. What are we doing here?
Dude,
1 versus 2
it's
overall
just
difference.
Okay, but the thing is that he's only 5 away from 80 overall, 1 away from Jameis Winston. 5 away from Kirk Cousins. You're telling me that Mac Jones is 4 overall better than Trevor Lawrence? Like,
you can't. You're stacking these guys like relative to each other, and you just it's hard to do. I mean, to stack any of these guys relative to each other, especially based off rookie potential, is just tough.
I think if you're going to tell me Lamar Jackson is better than Joe Burrow as far as 3 overall, there's no way you can tell me that Justin Fields and Trevor Lawrence are also.
But the gap between the elite quarterbacks and the good quarterbacks are way better than the gap between the medium quarterbacks and the good quarterbacks. Because they're elite for a reason here, Ryan.
And remember this too, guys, that both of those quarterbacks came from elite programs.
Yeah.
Trevor Lawrence came from an elite program, and so did Justin Fields. Now, the difference is Trevor Lawrence was asked to do a lot more in his offense than Fields was in his. Fields played in the Big Ten. It makes a big, big difference. It's a different style of football. I mean, you've just got a different way of doing the game. Trevor Lawrence was a reason that Clemson was so good and won national championships. Justin Fields did not. Now, I will say that Justin Fields, for a Bears fan, when's the last time we had a really good quarterback? I mean, ever?
We haven't.
The 40s or the 50s. I mean, we've had Cutler was supposed to be the man, and he was good, but he wasn't elite. Look back when we had Eric Kramer, who came over from Detroit. He had some good seasons, but he wasn't elite. I mean, even Jim McMahon, who won a Super Bowl, wasn't an elite quarterback. He was serviceable, but he wasn't like the best quarterback in the league. I think Fields has all the skill set to be the best quarterback in this city in a long, long time. But to be the best quarterback in the league, don't see it.
Oh, no.
I think Trevor Lawrence has a lot of the skills, and Trevor Lawrence can lead that team to the playoffs, and he'll own the NFL. He'll be the face of the league because Mahomes and Rodgers are up there. I mean, Mahomes is a 99, and he's had elite talent around him as well. I mean, they bring in guys that catch the ball. They bring in guys that are speedsters. Name a set of wide receivers for the Bears in the last few years, besides Brandon Marshall, who've done anything. You really can't. It's not the same. It's comparing apples to oranges or rotten apples to regular apples. It just doesn't make sense. But think about this. We've been talking about ratings on Madden for 20 minutes, and that's the thing that's crazy. Think about this. And 23 years ago or whenever the franchise started, think about people were like, it's a video game. We'll figure it out. Now it's become a talking point where, again, the players are looking at this. And so the players that are down on this list, especially Fields, especially Trevor Lawrence, they're going to have a chip on their shoulder. And this is just one more thing that a coach can show them.
This is, and I'll tell you this, before I move on to this one last point that I have.
Yep.
Justin Fields with a chip on his shoulder is better than, I don't know. It just makes me excited. That's it. That's all. One more thing, just to say it. And I root for the Browns because half of my family's from Cleveland. Baker Mayfield is not better than Jimmy Garoppolo, and the fact that they have him 3 overall better than Jimmy Garoppolo, 2 overall better than Jameis Winston, it's like, dude, and I'm taking this to heart because it's like this is essentially quarterback ratings. If it's not, then why would you have one quarterback over the other? It's but
what's the difference between a 78 and a 76? I mean, you're in school, a 78 and a 76, they're both C's. Okay, you got a C. Congratulations. I mean, we're not grading on a curve here. Baker Mayfield, you can say what you want about Baker Mayfield. He took the Browns to the playoffs. That right there is an accomplishment. He was the quarterback of the Browns. The Browns made the playoffs. They showed improvement. They got better. Jameis Winston, until he got to New Orleans, was a turnover machine. He was giving up the ball, and he was thrown into coverage, and he was making bad decisions. And then last year he got hurt, and now there's a lot of changes coming his way. So how does he react to that? But you got to remember, Mayfield, for all his faults and all his great commercials, actually got his team to the playoffs, which name a quarterback in Cleveland that's done that in the last 20 years. You can't.
No, absolutely. But, I mean, since we've talked about it last in the podcast, I've kind of opened my eyes because I had the same take. Was it Baker Mayfield or was it the awesome defense that Cleveland had that year as well? That's another argument for another day. But after that, we do have the Pigskin Pick'em Patriots schedule. We moved on from the NFC East last week, but now we're shifting to the other side of the NFL in the AFC East. So now we have the Patriots schedule. So, guys, I don't know if you've looked at Vince, you said that you looked at them.
Yep.
Vince, I'm going to have you go first. Ben, you can go second, and then I'll go last. I'm going to go down by game or whatever. You guys can just tell me win or loss, and then, we'll tally it up at the end, okay? All right, so Vince, Patriots at Miami, week 1.
That's going to be a win for the Patriots.
Okay, and then New England at Pittsburgh.
That's probably going to be a loss.
Okay, New England at Baltimore.
That's also going to be a loss.
New England at Green Bay.
That's another loss.
Just a correction. The Baltimore game is in New England. I'm sorry. Anyways, still going to be a loss, though.
Yes.
New England versus Detroit.
Oh, come on. That's a win. That's an easy win.
New England at Cleveland.
Okay, now I have a caveat on this one. If Deshaun Watson is playing, could be a loss. If Deshaun Watson is not playing, I think it's a win.
Okay. So how do you want to count it then?
We'll count it as a win.
All right. Let's do New England versus Chicago. How big is that chip on Fields' shoulder?
I think it's a Monday night game. I think the Bears get a win here. I really do.
All right. New England at New York Jets.
That's a win.
All right. And then New England versus Indianapolis.
I think they're going to lose that one. I think Matt Ryan's going to have something to prove this season. So I think that's a loss.
Going into the bye week, the Patriots have 4 wins. Now, New England's going to play the Jets after the bye week at home.
And you know how great New England is after the bye. If you give Belichick an extra week, they're definitely going to win that game.
All right. New England at Minnesota.
I think that's a win.
New England versus Buffalo.
That's a loss.
New England at Arizona.
I think that's also a loss.
New England at Las Vegas.
I think they win that game.
New England versus Cincinnati.
It's late in the season, and I think that's a loss.
New England versus Miami.
That's a win.
New England at Buffalo.
At Buffalo,
Yep.
That's probably a loss.
All right, so Vince has the New England Patriots ending at 8-9. Ben, I'm going to go through it with you.
I will say real quick, it makes me happy to know that we are on the same page here, Vince.
Oh,
Pretty close. We're there's a couple different games, but we're pretty close.
So either
right.
You're really, really good or I'm really, really bad. So we'll figure it out.
All right, Ben, New England at Miami.
Yeah, I think that's a win.
New England at Pittsburgh.
That's a loss.
New England versus Baltimore.
Yeah, that's a loss.
New England at Green Bay.
Yeah, that's a loss. They
New
start
England
off
versus
0-4
Detroit.
right now, just for people keeping track here at home.
Oh, did you say? I thought that they won against.
Yeah. I
So
did mess
1
that
and
up.
3
It's
going
1
into
and
the
3.
Green Bay game. Yeah.
Yes.
They're 1 and 2 going into the Green Bay game. So they lose against Green Bay?
Yes.
Okay. New England versus Detroit.
I think they win that.
New England at Cleveland.
They lose that one.
New England versus Chicago.
They win.
New England at New York. Jets.
Yeah, they win.
New England versus Indy.
I think Indy wins.
All right. Bye week. Ben has them at 4 wins.
Would you look at
that? New England versus New York Jets.
They win that one.
New England at Minnesota.
See, this is. I think they lose.
All right. New England versus Buffalo.
Yeah, I think they lose.
New England at Arizona.
I think they lose this one too.
New England at Las Vegas.
Finally, we see a win.
New England versus Cincinnati.
Yeah, they lose.
New England versus Miami.
They win that.
New England at Buffalo.
And I'm going to clarify here. I think they win that. But we've said for a couple other teams, I think they win that because I think the Bills are probably sitting their starters.
Did you say that they would win against the Dolphins in their second matchup, the one before this?
Yes.
Yeah. All right. So you have them at 8-9, just like Vince. All right. Now going for me now. All right. New England at Miami. I think they lose this game. New England at Pittsburgh. I think they lose that game. New England versus Baltimore. I think they lose that game. New England at Green Bay. I think they lose that game. New England versus Detroit. It's going to be a really close one, but they lose that game.
Wow. Okay.
New England at Cleveland. They'll win that game. New England versus Chicago. They lose that game. New England at New York Jets. They win that game. New England versus Indy. They lose that game. So it's going to be 2 wins going into the bye week. New England versus the Jets at home. They're going to lose that game. They're going to split with the Jets. They're going to lose against the Vikings in Minnesota. They're going to lose against the Bills. They're going to lose against Arizona. They're going to lose against Vegas. They're going to lose against Cincinnati. They're going to win against Miami. And then they're going to lose against Buffalo to finish their season 3-14.
Wow.
Am I under?
Yeah, at that point you have to start thinking, do we fire Bill Belichick and draft a quarterback?
No, their quarterback play is going to be okay, but the thing is just that their schedule is just that hard, and the offense has like 0 firepower. With the amount of defenses and everything that they're going to be playing and everything, I think that those teams are just too skilled on both sides of the ball. And when it comes to that Detroit game, because you guys are going nuts, Vince, if you've been listening, you know I'm huge on Detroit this year. I know as a Bears fan that's rough. Detroit's going to be somebody to mess with, and I think Detroit has a real chance of making the playoffs this year, believe it or not. But going into the next AFC East team, the Buffalo Bills. Vince, you're up.
Well,
So
week 1 they've got the Rams, and that's going to be a great matchup. That is going to be a great matchup. I think the Rams are going to have a little bit of a championship night hangover. I think that Buffalo wins that game.
okay.
They go to Tennessee. They play Tennessee. I think they win that game as well. They're going to beat Miami. I think they're going to lose at Baltimore in week 4. They're going to beat Pittsburgh. They're going to lose to Kansas City because it's at Kansas City. Then they have their bye. I think they're going to beat Green Bay because it's at home. I think they're going to beat New York. I think they're going to beat Minnesota. I think they're going to beat Cleveland. They're going to beat Detroit. This New England game, I can't remember what I called, but I'm pretty sure that I said New England was going to lose, so they're going to beat New England. Okay. They're going to beat the Jets twice. They're going to probably in week 15 they're going to lose to Miami because this is when they're going to be on a roll, and I think they're going to start sitting some starters. I think they're going to go to Chicago in week 16, and it's Christmas Eve. Again, the 24th is Christmas Eve. I think that, and it's a Saturday game at 1:00. I think they're gonna lose that game on the road. And then
Merry Christmas, baby.
Merry Christmas. That's what I'm saying, right? Week 17, they're going to go to Cincinnati. That's going to be 2 days after New Year's. I think they're going to win that game, and I think New England they're going to win that game at the end of the season.
All right, I think that's 13, right?
That's correct. I think they're
wins?
going to go I think it's going to be 13-3. I originally said it was going to be hard for them to win 11 games, but looking at the schedule. They've just got too much going on. They're working towards a new stadium. There's a lot of excitement. They've got a young quarterback. I mean, you think about it, he's only, 25 years old, and he's just got a cannon of an arm. They've got great coaches. They've got great defense. They've got great fans. I like the Buffalo Bills. I'd like them to win a title just to do it for Jim Kelly. I'd like to see
them they can do it.
Yeah, I think they can. I think they'll be very good this year. Kansas City is always good. Cincinnati, I don't think is going to be as good this year. I think last year was a Cinderella story. I think Buffalo is your leader in the clubhouse to get a chance to go to the Super Bowl. 13-3 seems realistic to me.
All right, Ben, you're up. You have the schedule.
Yep, I absolutely agree with him. I think they win their first 5 games against the Rams, Titans, Dolphins, Ravens, and Steelers.
Okay.
And then I think they lose against the Chiefs. But then I think that shocks them a little bit. And then, they get a little shock going into their bye week, but then they pick it right up and beat the Packers. I think they beat the Jets, and I think they beat the Vikings. I think they probably lose against the Browns. I think they beat the Lions, the Patriots, the Bills, and the Dolphins. So right now they've lost 2 games right now so far.
Okay.
I think they beat the Bears, and I think they beat the Bengals. And then I have them losing against the Bills. So they're
the Patriots
14-3. Or yeah.
Okay.
Sorry. They're 14-3. Is what I got them going.
So week 1 for me, I think they're going to lose to the Rams, but they're going to win the next 5 games, even the one at Kansas City. That's going to be because of a coin flip. So Tennessee, Miami, Baltimore, Pittsburgh, Kansas City, 5 wins going into the bye. Coming in hot against Green Bay, 6 win. They'll win against the Jets. They'll lose to Minnesota. But they'll lose to Cleveland, but then they'll beat Detroit, New England, the Jets, the Dolphins, and then they'll lose. No, they'll win against Chicago, and then they'll lose against Cincinnati and lose against New England because they had already clinched the 1 seed. So I think that's 3 losses, so call it 14-3. So solid year for the Bills. But going forward, let's see what we have next. All right, so we're doing some team rankings now. This one, Ben, I know you love this segment. So the Browns, Cardinals, 49ers, and Bengals are the teams that we are ranking. Vince, let's have you go first.
You want teams that I hate the most, or teams that I'm not. I think in this group of these 4 teams, and I've got it on the big screen. I've got your list on the big screen in front of me. I think it should go. Gosh, this is tough. Again, it's Deshaun Watson is the key to this deal. If Deshaun Watson's playing, I think it goes Browns, Bengals, 49ers, and Cardinals. If Deshaun Watson's not playing, I think you flip the Bengals and the Browns, and it goes Bengals, Browns, 49ers, and Cardinals. I think the Cardinals are going to have trouble this year. I think Kyler Murray has kind of opened his mouth and caused himself some problems down the road if he doesn't have a good season, because he's not endearing himself to a lot of people. He did that media gaffe where he took people off of his Instagram and his social media, leading people to believe that he wanted out of Arizona. Then he had to come back and retract all that and say that he wanted to be in Arizona. So I think, I think it depends on Deshaun Watson. I think a lot of what we're going to talk about is going to depend on his legal troubles. And then once he comes back, what is that 1 year layoff going to do for him? I mean, legal troubles aside, what is 1 year off as a quarterback? And if you want to look at it this way, what is 6 years going to do if Colin Kaepernick comes back and plays for the Raiders, if they end up bringing him in? It's a different situation, but still, I think of that group, the Browns and the Bengals could be flipped depending on Watson's situation.
All right, Ben.
Again, great minds think alike. I think he said it perfectly. Again, I think the interesting question is how's Trey Lance going to do? Because I mean, if Trey Lance develops and he turns into, a guy that we think Shanahan can really make him into, I think they could shock some people because obviously that defense is just phenomenal. So I think the 49ers really have a chance to surprise some people this year. But I'm probably going to do Bengals because I'm assuming Deshaun Watson's probably going to miss 5 or 6 games. Okay. I think that's just going to hurt the Browns. I'm going to do Bengals, Browns, 49ers, and Cardinals. And I'm not high on the Cardinals either. I think Cliff Kingsbury is probably going to get fired after this season.
Okay. For my rankings, very similar. I think it's going to be Browns, Bengals, Cardinals, 49ers. And that's not saying the 49ers are trash either. But, it's just saying with the way that things stand right now, if everybody were to play, I really like the Cardinals defense. But, and the 49ers quarterback situation's up in the air. As of right now, I would so much rather have Kyler Murray over Trey Lance or Jimmy Garoppolo, but that can very much change halfway through the season. The Bengals are pretty complete. And like Ben said, I think that you can swap them and the Browns depending on how Deshaun Watson is. But, both teams are going to be a force to reckon with. I think really the only thing that I could disagree on was the 49ers and Cardinals, and you could swap them. So very close list in all honesty. But going forward, we have our next segment, the one that Ben has been looking forward to all day, all week.
All week is what we're going to call it here because last week was just a load. So it'll be fun.
So going forward now, we're doing our weekly Weddle. Guys, looking forward to it. So the way that we're going to do this, just a little refresher. Easy mode, we work together. Hard mode, we work against each other. Vince can chime in, with a guest when he feels comfortable for hard mode. But, right now, easy mode, we're obviously going to warm up a little bit. Vince, if you feel comfortable, we'll do the same exact order. We're going to have Vince go first, Ben go second, and then me go third. Vince gets the extra guess, but we have 8 guesses. So maybe not. Anyways, whatever. So, Vince, guess one random player.
Let's go A.J. Brown.
All right. So, and just to clarify, I do believe that the mode is just offense as well.
And I think it's even just running backs, wide receivers, and quarterbacks. It's not even offensive linemen or tight ends.
Which is when we get to hard mode where it's like every position. But, all right. Yeah. Ben, going forward, not your wide receiver.
Yeah, right. Patrick Mahomes. I'll just be it.
So, all right.
Ooh, he's a youngin.
AFC West.
I think you already know what it is.
Or it's not a quarterback, but it's in the AFC. There's no way.
It's not a quarterback. No.
I
thought you said it was a quarterback. Maybe.
All right, so it's a running back.
Okay.
Close to 5'10", a little bit older than 23, and his jersey number is higher than 28. Vince, you're up next.
Can I pass? I'll pass to you guys. I want to see what your guess is. I don't want to blow our guesses. So,
Ben,
you see what you can do, Ben.
See, automatically, just based off the age, this isn't it. Based off the age, I think Josh Jacobs, but Josh Jacobs, I'm pretty sure is jersey number 28.
I think that's right. He is.
Yeah.
He's either 24 or 25. Keep that in mind.
Yes. Jeez.
Either an AFC East or North.
This isn't it, but do Nick Chubb. I think Nick Chubb is too old. And I don't think his jersey number lines up either.
He's 5'11", though.
There you go. So it's an NFC or an AFC East guy.
Oh, man.
Ooh.
Who? Dude.
I might have a guess here, Ryan, if you want me.
I think I know of a guy, but it's all about figuring out what his name is.
What team are you thinking?
He used to play for the Cardinals, but he plays for the Dolphins now. Chase Edmonds.
Yeah, I think Chase Edmonds is too old. I could be wrong though.
AFC East running back. Yeah, he's too old. Vince, you want to go?
These guys. Oh.
No, but I can see where we're heading though. So it's an AFC East running back who's 5'11", and is between. So he's 24 or 25 because he's in between that. So
and a higher jersey number as well.
It's a Bills guy. I have a feeling it's two of the Bills guy. We're gonna go with Zach Moss, but it very well could be Devin Singletary.
I was thinking Devin. Wait.
There it is.
It's
not
Devin
even a
Singletary's
Buffalo
older,
guy.
Devin Singletary's older, isn't he? Oh, no. Hold on a minute.
Devin Singletary is only 27, I think. Or 25, maybe. No, it's not
24.
Bills. It's not Bills guy. Yeah.
Right. Dang it. Yeah.
No,
I just
a Bills
one
guy.
of the guesses. All right. Vince,
so we know it's not.
The last guess?
I do not. It's not Buffalo. It's not Miami. So, and
New England?
Damian Harris?
Wait, hold on a minute.
No, Damian Harris is too big.
Last guess. What about the Jets?
It has to be
who's the running back?
Carter. Michael Carter, I think maybe. But I think Michael Carter's too small. It has to either be Michael Carter or Damian Harris, but I think Damian Harris is big. And I don't think Damian Harris is that. I think Damian Harris is too big. I think it's Michael Carter. Michael Carter's. I know his last name. Yeah, try Michael Carter. Not Michael Carter.
Damian Harris.
You're kidding. I thought he was too big. I thought he was like 6'1".
All right, going to hard mode. Who won last week?
I don't know, Ryan. Who did?
It was me. I won. Just wanted my
did?
props. So I get first guess, right?
Sure.
All right. So
I'd much rather be picking later anyways. It burned me in the butt last time.
Oh, right there, getting the division, baby. All right, AFC West, but he's not a Charger and he's not a linebacker. A little bit taller than 6'3". He's a lot younger than 31, and his number is higher than 32. I have my next guess.
His number is higher than 52.
Yeah, 52. What did I say?
You said 32.
32, whatever.
You're probably looking at the age there.
Mm-hmm.
Higher than 52, so it's not any of the quarterbacks. Or Vince, you want to go or do you want me to go?
Give me the tight end from
you got.
Yeah, give me the LA or the Las Vegas Raiders tight end.
Waller.
Yeah, Waller.
Ooh, that was a good guess. Okay, he's on the offensive side of things.
He is, and he's
shorter than 6'6", younger than 29, and his number is lower than 83. Good guess, Vince.
And it's not a Chargers or Raiders guy. It has to be Broncos or Chiefs guy. What is he?
Okay, younger than 29.
So he's not old, but he's not.
This is rough, man. Could we be looking at
Chiefs?
offensive linemen?
Well, yeah, I would.
I've got
Try Garrett Bowles, I think his name is. Garrett. Type in G. What's his name? Yeah. Let's try that.
Denver.
He's a Denver guy.
Denver. Okay.
He's not a tackle. I'm thinking wide receiver.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Come on, we know who it is now. It has to be one of two guys.
It's either Jerry Jeudy or Cortland Sutton.
Mm-hmm.
I'd say it's Jeudy. It's got to be Jeudy.
I was gonna say it's got to be Jeudy. Yeah. Nope.
Oh,
wide receiver.
It's got to be the other guy.
Yeah, it's got to be Cortland Sutton. You want Cortland Sutton?
It's not my guy.
Nope.
Yeah, it's well then it's try KJ Hamler. Now it's just everybody helping everybody out here.
Oh my gosh!
You're kidding, Patrick. What's his something Patrick? What's his name? Type in Patrick and let me see. It's a last name. Patrick is a last name. Tim Patrick. Aha!
Nice. Well, you got like four.
I knew Patrick was the name.
I'm just playing. It's okay. I'm just playing. Good job, guys. That was awesome. Vince coming in clutch with that tight end pick too. That was huge.
Yeah.
Anyway,
even a blind squirrel finds an acorn every once in a while, guys. You know.
All right, guys. So last but not least, we have our best sports movies of all time draft.
Vince, this will be fun.
We're going Vince first.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, sneak it.
Okay, you want my best. You want my favorite sports movie of all time, and you want the story behind it, or what do you? I can tell you the reason it's my favorite.
It can be biased at all. It's whatever, man. It's Red Iron Goose. It's whatever you make it to be.
Well, it's not football related, but go back to 1987, and I am 21, soon to be 22 years old, and I go to work and meet a 17-year-old cashier and ask her where she goes to school. And the answer is Andrean. And I say, Andrean College? And she says, Andrean High School. The next question, because I'm 21 years old, I ask, how old are you? She says, I'm 17. I say, when do you turn 18? She says, February 25th. And my answer is, we should go out in March because then she'll be 18. So I go and see my all-time favorite sports movie, which was the movie Hoosiers. And the reason it's my all-time favorite sports movie is because it's also my first date with my wife. My second date with my wife was a Blackhawks game, and that's when I knew I had made the right decision to date this girl. But yeah, Hoosiers is my all-time favorite sports movie. The Natural would be second.
All right. So, Ben, you're up next with the next pick.
And just so Vince, so when we're doing this, we're drafting it. So like,
okay. Yeah. Well, then I'm gonna go the Natural.
The Natural.
I mean, the Hoosiers.
All right.
Hoosiers.
Hoosiers.
Yep. Okay. I have to go with a football movie. We have to do Rudy. Just it's a phenomenal movie.
All right. For me, I like the sad movies, and I like The Blind Side. The Blind Side was good.
Yeah,
it can be.
Yeah.
And I know that's not the greatest sports movie of all time, but it's among the best. I would give it. Yes. It's a good story. True story too. So Vince, you're up next.
Okay, true stories, and you're a Bears fan. Brian's song.
All right.
That's one of the best ones out there.
Ben, you're up next.
White Man Can't Jump.
All right. Next up, I'm going Rocky for mine. I mean, you can't. I'm just saying Rocky, just because we're gonna assume like just the first one, because you can't just say the trilogy, but like just Rocky in general.
Yep. Are we doing 5, by the way?
Yes, 5 apiece.
Okay.
Field of Dreams.
Oh, you stole that literally right out from underneath my
And
nose.
I will tell you why. Again, story time. My wife's cousin is an actor, or was an actor, and he played the first baseman on the Dream Team. Art LaFleur, the actor, is from Gary. That's my wife's cousin, and related to my wife. And so he was also in Mr. Baseball, and he was also in. He played the Babe, in a few movies as well. So,
okay, Ben, I'm next.
There's a lot of movies I could pick from. Remember the Titans.
All right. So that's a great choice, by the way. My next pick is going to be Miracle, a hockey movie about when the U.S. team beat the Soviets. Great one. Vince?
Now you're putting me on the spot because I was going to say Miracle. That's a great story. Sports movies. Did we pick The Natural?
Not yet.
Yeah, that's The Natural is a great sports movie. Yeah, I like The Natural.
Vince going The Natural in round 4. Ben, what's up? What's next?
Gosh, we'll save my favorite one for last. We will do deciding between 2. We'll do Coach Carter.
All right. Up next for me, I'm going The Sandlot.
That's tough, Ryan. You really had to do that one to me.
It's so good, man.
Yeah, I was gonna pick it. I should have.
Bull Durham.
All right, Ben, last pick.
I was really hoping you weren't gonna do Sandlot there. You just messed me up here. We'll just for fun, we'll do it. I don't really ever think it's regarded as a great movie, but we will do Dodgeball.
It's a great movie. It's a great movie.
Ben, you and I are on the same page because we're going more so the comedy side. And, I picked some good movies. I think this will make up for, or those will make up for this one. Give me Semi-Pro in the final round. I love Semi-Pro. And you know what? Give me just a second for those watching. Oh, I have it.
Oh, that's great. Just know, Ryan, I was debating about doing like Waterboy there too.
I mean, you can't tell
Tropics
me.
Jersey. Yeah.
I'm not the real fan here, okay? For those watching or for those on Spotify, you guys can check out the video section of the podcast. But yeah, come on, hit me with the Jackie Moon jersey, man. You got to. But anyways, Vince, any final thoughts before we let you go?
Well, gentlemen, again, I appreciate the opportunity to hang out with you on a nice Thursday evening. I wish you all the best. I think the podcast is going to be very successful. I would again invite everyone to tune in to the Pigskin Project podcast. My Twitter handle is @vgray699. It's not on the screen. I'm on Twitter as well. Look forward to this season with you on Regional Radio Sports, Ryan. I think it's going to be a lot of fun.
Oh, yeah.
And I think we're going to learn a lot about Northwest Indiana football. We're going to see if Kankakee Valley is all they're cracked up to be. But ultimately, I think you and I are going to be spending Thanksgiving weekend together, most likely down in Indianapolis, which is always a good time. Oh, yeah. But again, I appreciate you guys having me on. Reach out anytime you want me to jump in, just give me a call and I'll be happy to join you.
Sounds great, Vince. And hey, we do want to say, from the very jump, you have been a huge help in terms of growing our podcast. I remember the very first day I was like, hey, me and my buddy, we just set up this podcast. It's called the Pigskin Project. It's been a lot of fun. And you're like, hey, we're kind of broadcasting a game right here. Why don't you jot that down on a piece of paper and I'll shout you out real quick. I remember telling Ben, I was like, hey, yeah, my buddy at Regional Radio Sports, he's shouting us out, and he's like, that's so cool. So we want to say thank you for that.
Yes.
And thank you for being a great broadcast partner so far. I can't wait for it. It's so much fun, but thank you so much for coming on, man. It's really been a pleasure having you on.
It's been a lot of fun, guys. It's a nice way to spend an evening. And again, I'll say it's also an honor to be the voice of the Pigskin Project. You're my official foray into announcing. So when you need an update, just give me a call and we'll update that. And I'll let you folks at home remember Pigskin Project. They're on Spotify. Make sure you join the boys every single week. Tell your friends because the Pigskin Project is going to be a big deal. And we knew them when they were just merely starting out. But when you guys are a big deal, don't forget us little guys back on the ranch.
Absolutely. Ben, you got anything else to say before we close it out?
No, again, I just want to say thank you for coming on. And like I tell Ryan every week, that the theme song, our intro there always gets me excited. So it was awesome to have the guy behind the voice come on. So thank you.
Thanks again.
Guys, if you made it this far, we want to say thank you for listening all the way through. We hope you enjoyed this week's episode of the Pigskin Project. We have a lot scheduled for next week's show, including our off-season previews, much, much more. So make sure you're subscribed or following us on all platforms. We'd like to give a big thank you to Anchor.fm and Uppercuts Grooming for helping us promote our podcast. Please leave a review down below as it helps us more than you know. And that's it for this week. So thanks again for tuning in to the Pigskin Project.